All right. So just very quickly, all right. So I'm one of the four co-founders of ViSenze. It's not pronounced ViSenze, it's ViSenze, and by the way, it's a twist of the two words called visual and sense. Our objective is simply to bring together the visual web and try to make sense out of it using computer vision. So we spun out of the National University of Singapore about 5 years ago. It came from a lab that was set up between National University of Singapore as well as Tsinghua University in China, one of the top three universities over there. We built extreme technologies that focuses on areas that Google doesn't look at, and one of that was in computer vision, which was a very nascent field at a point in time. We taught machines to basically process pixels and understand concepts within images themselves. And we played around with a lot of data, basically social data that we crawl from the visual web, in China as well as in US. And that allowed us to understand not just objects, but also concept and images. The problem statement that we focused on at a point in time was very simple. If we can extract intelligence from pixels and images, what can we do in order to help online shoppers who are basically telling us that they were searching, but they're not finding? Now, why is that they are searching and not finding? Is it because they are using the wrong keywords? Or is it because the keywords that they used in the first place did not exist in the product taxonomies that merchants and retailers had in the first place? The answer is actually both. All right. So therein lies the huge disconnect between the way that we describe things and the actual products themselves that are being tagged by merchants and retailers in the first place. Right. If I could show you a very nice a cage high heel lady sandal shoe, how would you even try to visualize that? You can see it, the next minute you see it, but if you were to show the same shoe to 10 women in the same room, they will all use different descriptions, like things like a cage high heel lady sandal shoe, a strappy lady sandal shoe, a gladiator lady sandal shoe, a netted, a meshy. So we all use different terms that are most familiar to us, but not necessarily the most appropriate one in order to match with the product taxonomy was. So we figured if we could take away this hassle of keyword guessing, just using pure images, we would be able to shorten the path towards search as well as discovery. Now, I always like to say that, all right? If a picture is really worth 1,000 words, you just don't want to use 1,000 words to describe the picture. Just let the image speak for itself, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So that's exactly what we do, right? And furthermore, especially in cross-border, products in Japan itself, they're all tagged with Japanese metadata and keywords. Now, how do I even try to look for that cage lady sandal shoe in Japan? I don't speak Japanese, right? But images themselves are universal language. So using visual search, what we could do is take that image as an input, as a query, process that metadata, identify what exactly is in an image, extract the visual attributes, like in apparels, that would be things like collar, type of a collar itself. Okay, is it a mandarin collar? Is it, a standard collar? Is it an off-shoulder? Is it a quarter sleeve, half sleeve? We extract all of these visual attributes that allows us to approximate the actual result as if you were the real shopper in the real world looking for that product. You kind of like get the experience when you walk into a store and you said, hey, I like the pattern very much, but I don't like the cutting. Mr. Salesman, can you show me a little bit more of this, but minus the long sleeve, I want it shorter. So you kind of like describe that, in the real world, but in the online world, you don't have the benefit. So by training machines, we're able to approximate that. We call that our nearest neighbor algorithm, the entire outfit, right? And because you may find something that's short, but the actual product, okay, will have something that is maybe longer in the dress itself. So we try to approximate the entire product as if you were looking for the real stuff in the real world. And with that, we've been able to apply our technology fundamentally starting in the fashion vertical, because fashion is the most visual vertical amongst all of the e-commerce verticals that we looked at, and it's very easy to then apply that technology. So apparels, bags, shoes, to be able to search better. And about 3 years ago, we are a 5-year-old company. About slightly more than 3 years ago, we've transitioned from machine learning to deep learning. And that basically gave us the quantum leap in terms of not just the accuracy, but the overall relevance of results that we've been able to generate. So we work with, we've been playing around with different metadata. It's not just visual input that we extract out of pixels in images, but we've also been able to take in metadata in order to recommend better and more relevantly. Like for instance, if you're looking at a $50 dress, does it make sense for me to show you a visually similar dress that is worth $500? That's not relevant, okay, even though it's visually similar. So we've been able to take in a lot more signals as compared to just visual signals and generate more relevance in the contextual recommendation. This is an example of what we did. Moving forward very quickly, we've moved beyond fashion. We are now into home and decor, furniture, CPG, consumer packaging goods, schematic drawings, artwork, product designs, stuff like that. Okay, that are very visual in nature itself and has a distinctive pattern to the image. So we use that, and we've been able to apply that. So about 80% of our clients are in the retail space, and about 20% are in the non-retail space. So give you a sense of kind of customers basically users in the retail side. That would include clients like Rakuten in Japan, which is the number one marketplace. We have Uniqlo Japan, Japan's largest fashion retailer, using us on their mobile web platform. You can actually do an image search on that platform itself and search the database. We work with 3 of the top 5 e-commerce players in Southeast Asia. 2 of the top 5 e-commerce players in South Korea. We have 2 of Europe's largest fashion brand that is basically using us. I can't name this because we're under a strict NDA specifically from them, but I'll be very happy to show you some sites that use image search, but I just cannot put my name to it.
Sure.
Right, and of course, we're working with some major retailers as well as marketplaces in North America right now. The team is still very young. We have about close to about 40 people in our R&D side. We probably have one of the largest concentration of computer vision as well as machine learning guys under one roof. In the region that we operate in, that is in Singapore, where our R&D is located. There are about 13, 14 PhDs in computer vision and software engineering and deep machine learning. So the underlying stack is completely 100% built on the deep learning today. Right? And of course, the other 20%, there are different use cases that we looked at. As I mentioned, trademarks, for instance, logo detections, artwork and product design, schematic drawings. That's exactly one very interesting area that visual search can be applied on. So what I just described to you, it relates to one branch of our solution, this is visual search. On the image recognition side, image recognition is basically transferring or converting from pixels into keywords, all right, text. We have our product tagging APIs, which is in beta stage right now. It's currently used by some major retailers in order to enhance or enrich the keywords in their catalogs, for instance. Like, for instance, if I'm able to detect a Mandarin collar, in Asia we have this Mandarin collar concept. It's very distinct. Can we then expose, Mandarin collar as a keyword description? All right, that would then allow for me, if I were to search for, a jacket with Mandarin collar, to just type in Mandarin collar. All right. So we use that in order to expose, what we call fashion attributes in the fashion vertical, if we use it in that area, and enrich the catalog of all of these major marketplaces in order to have their products be found better using the natural keywords that everyday shopper uses. You actually have that in your table. So you put us over there. So it's a very apt description. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we put you definitely under image tagging and visual search. And those are the two topics that you mentioned so far, right?
Yes.
But I'm sure we missed some things because it's difficult to categorize the whole space. But good to hear that we got the important ones from you. If you
these are the two. Just very quick. So these are the two most important verticals that you put us in. The other two verticals, which you might want to take note of, we also basically use as part of product recommendation. Visual search and product recommendations are different engines. Fundamentally, the underlying logic is different. So we work with different partners as well as different players who use our technology as part of product recommendation. All right. Instead of you uploading an image to search for something, all right, while you're looking at something on the site itself, can the product recommendation use visual inputs in order to recommend back to you? So that's one area that we use. The last area that we've been working on is basically what I call video commerce. The idea is very simple. If we can process text, can we also process videos? Right? Because videos has a lot of intelligence and signals. And the chances of extracting signals out of videos, like fashion video shows, for instance, it's a lot more. It's a lot richer. The idea is, can we expose product recommendations to be recommended back within the video stream itself, as we detect, fashionable objects, for instance, right? So I call it a video commerce experience. Instead of creating shoppable videos, we make videos shoppable using machine learning, the other way around.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting use case, definitely. And there's plenty of material to use, so that's interesting indeed.
Yeah, it's a very, very new area. Very few guys out there in the market that I know of is doing that. We have a lot of people doing or creating shoppable videos, which is the old world of doing it, where you embed product within videos and you design the videos, for products to be, embedded inside there and exposed. But the other way around, using machine learning to expose shoppable moments within videos. That's very, very far in view.
Definitely, and there's much more potential because so many videos that are not shoppable that you can. You are essentially doing image tagging on the video, right? If I understand correctly.
It's a combination of both, image recognition as well as visual search on video itself, right? It's that we detect. Not only do we detect, we want to generate an exciting shopping use case. So we recommend, or we do a visual search against a product database in order to find relevant products. And it doesn't just have to be fashion. It could be other stuff as well. All right. It could be a branded product, could be a logo, for instance. It could also be used for contextual advertising purposes. We call it in-video contextual advertising. So it's a very rich area that has yet to be fully explored, I would say.
That's pretty exciting indeed. And can you talk a bit about the industry landscape, about the competition, large and small players? Like, what do you think are what do you think is in general playing out in the market? Or we can also discuss pricing and rollout times for your products, however you choose.
Okay, let me take the first one, which is the landscape, I would say. I would say that visual search is, number one, is already appearing on mainstream search today, where we have major players like Rakuten and ASOS, all implementing visual search on their platform. It really signals or heralds the mainstreaming of visual search as part of natural search experiences for any consumer today. All right. My vision is, of course, to see to democratize visual search and have visual search as common a feature as keyword search on any shopping site or any shopping platform. Now, with that, I see that the marketplace, has all sorts of visual search solutions out there, and even somebody like Google has that, for instance. But here's the challenge, all right? Whilst general image search has brought itself to a sufficient level, I would say, that is, stretches right across every vertical. How does one get deeper and sharper and understand consumers' behavior better? And this is where, companies like us come in, ViSenze, because fundamentally when we train on data itself, we train on a lot sharper data. We train on real data that is provided by, merchants and retailers that we work with. Right? There is a difference because, working on real world data and understanding the way that people shop and whether they convert or not convert, things like optimized prices, it just signals, the optimization that is required to understand actual consumer behavior. Now, general visual search as a worldwide search engine itself may find you that product or may not find you the product, but they are fundamentally not optimized for conversion. Therein lies the fundamental disconnect between companies like us as well as worldwide web search engines like Google, for instance. Right? Because we are vertical, we call ourselves vertical AI agents that are heavily optimized for a specific function like engagement, like conversion, like discovery. In terms of the landscape, you will see that there are a few guys like us as well. I would say I'm not alone. That focuses on key verticals that double down on that. All right, by looking very deeply into things like visual attributes of fashion apparels. I talk about Mandarin collar. That's an example of how we do that. When we were in India, for instance, we thought that we understand modern fashion wear, and then they threw us what they call ethnic wear, which is like. Do you know what's a sari, for instance?
Yes. I worked in India for a bit, so I can imagine the challenge. It's a completely different fashion wardrobe, I guess.
Yes, that's right. So, your standard human tree concept in a ethnic wear doesn't really work because an ethnic wear, a sari, is considered a full outfit. There's no upper body or lower body concept. It's just the entire outfit itself. So you have to kind of like retrain for that domain understanding, if you will. Right? And that's what gets us further and deeper, than most other people when we look at a specific vertical. Does that make sense?
Yes, total sense. What do you think about Amazon? Because I know that in some domains, like for example, they rolled out Lex for conversational interfaces, but I don't know if they rolled out an image search or similar tagging solution, because they have plenty of data for sure.
Of course, all right. Big guys have the advantage of data. But let me ask, okay, I think Amazon just a couple of months ago just launched Echo Look. Have you tried that?
No. How is it?
Okay. I haven't personally tried it, but I've asked people who who tried it.
Not good.
So, all right. The idea is this, all right. So Amazon Echo Look It's that device that they put in your bedroom, and every morning before you go out to work, you put on an outfit, and you're supposed to ask, the Amazon Echo Look, how am I dressing today? All right. And it's supposed to give you an answer and a recommendation of how you can dress better. Now, I really, really wonder, okay, how useful is that as a real world, product? Because if you have been dressing well almost every day, 35 years of your life, why would you ever need that, to tell you to dress better going forward? So I just see that as a fashionable statement that Amazon has put out. But I think the real use case would be one in which can we use AI to help people discover things that they don't already know. Like, for instance, if I bought a new scarf, all right, is there a way for me to wear this scarf? What color combinations do I go with? All right, it's basically sharing very good suggestions and let the consumer decide at the end of the day. All right, it's about equipping and empowering consumers with knowledge and visual knowledge that they would not otherwise have. And I see a big role for AI, given the data that we have been able to assimilate, to be able to do that at scale for consumers.
Definitely. And you work with plenty of these big e-commerce companies, but you also have a solution that is possible to use as self-service. You have the APIs. With these large e-commerce companies, is it more like exposing the API to them, or more like consulting work where you work with them to make sure that their solution is tightly integrated with the systems you are providing?
So I'll give you two answers to that. Most of our retailers, our clients rather, use our APIs. These are very easily integrated and implemented on either their storefront or on their back-end systems. Right? For the mobile guys,
I think there's a problem with the sound, but let's see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's perfect. I was just getting some echo. Now it's great.
Oh, okay. So as I said, most of our clients, they basically use our APIs. Some clients use our SDKs that we provide them as well. All right. So it's pretty standard. But what we do, we have, it's a highly trainable and highly configurable algorithm model that we've built. So on top of pre-trained models that we have, we can take in feedback, we can take in data directly from clients and retrain that model very, very quickly using client data in order to optimize towards their environment, their use case. Like for instance, in North Asia that we work with, unlike in the US, a lot of their images are visually noisy, very, very noisy. All right. And it's not uncommon to see their catalog images having 2 or 3 models in the same image itself. Right, so it's really optimizing for that environment. Although we are a cloud-based solution right now, we're also moving towards a on-premise solution where we can actually deploy or transfer our entire algorithm model within a enclosed data environment. Where they feel more secure in having their data being operated and shared within that environment. So we have 2 models to go with.
Very clear. And once you have the model set up, one thing that I am wondering is how frequent is visual search used by the customers of the e-commerce websites? I'm sure it depends a lot on culture, maybe, or about the time it was introduced, but so much more. So whatever insight you want to share, I'm curious.
Okay, very good question. I'm glad you asked that. So when we started 5 years ago, of course, there were very there were natural skeptics. Does it actually work? Is it natural consumer behavior? 5 years later, when we have guys like ourselves and even Amazon and Taobao in China having visual search on their platform, it's almost as hygiene a factor as keyword search, I would say. Now, I'm going to share with you some stats. So in the 2016, we processed something like more than 350 million queries in the whole of the year, and that's almost equivalent to 1 million searches a day from all of the clients that we work with, which are then exposing our APIs to their end consumers. In the first half of this year, we have seen that volume already increasing 3 times. All right. So I am seeing a lot more visual search happening in one form or another, whether it's a upload search experience or a product discovery experience or recommendation experience. It is happening at scale.
And how do you see it changing in the future? Are there any trends that you are already seeing?
Yes, in fact, I'm seeing a lot more people using social media images, Instagram and Pinterest. In China, we have images from Sina Weibo, which is one of the top 3 social media platforms. So people are not just searching with clean catalog images that they chance upon from other competitive websites and then using that image to search on their shopping site, but they're using social media images, Instagram, Facebook, that are being shared by their friends or pinned and reposted and liked and so on and so forth. So I see a big influence coming in from the social media space, and guys like Instagram and Pinterest are basically catalyzing and propelling visual search faster going forward, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's probably a bit more difficult to match the images from there, but that's nice. I mean, for you, it's a bit more of a challenge. So, and you are one of the more focused players, so that would be interesting. But we are almost running out of the time we allocated. So, if you have anything that you wanna share as a final message to potential users, or anything you wanna ask, we can talk about that.
Well, my favorite line is this, all right? The future of search is visual, all right? It's one way or another, it's coming, all right? Mary Meeker talked about it in the 2017 Internet Trends. Well, to be fair, she said visual as well as conversational. So, but it is there. We believe that it will become even more mainstream going forward. But it is not just in shopping. Visual search can be applied in many areas outside of e-commerce. We're heavily optimized for commerce, which is big enough an area for us to focus on already.